Hi, Gipsters. It's Miss Banks here. I've missed you so much, but I have a new story for you today. Are you ready? I want you to say, I'm ready, really loud. 1, 2, 3. That was super loud. All right, before the book, I want to tell you about my dog, Cupcake. We all know she's crazy, right? Well, she does this really crazy thing. What do you think she does that's super crazy? I'm going to tell you what she does. Are you ready? Let me go get her first. All right, guys, here is Cupcake. She is a wonderful Labradoodle, but she is crazy and she does some really wild stuff, okay? You ready for me to tell the friends what you do that's so crazy, Cupcake? She said yes. Cupcake farts. Sorry, Cupcake. Oh, she's embarrassed right now. All right, friends, I've got Xavier here with me. And Xavier, could you tell me a little story?
Sure.
What's up?
One day, Cupcake went in my room.
She went in your room? And then what?
She farted.
Ew! Did it stink? You guys, Cupcake farted in Xavier's room. So if we think about Xavier's story, it was crazy. There was a setting, right? It was in his bedroom. The character was Xavier and Cupcake, right? And what did Cupcake do, everybody? Yeah, he farted. Or she farted, sorry. So guys, I just retold the story of Cupcake going into Xavier's room. And I used some key details, right?
Right.
Okay. You had a question, Aubrey?
Mm-hmm.
What?
What are key details?
Oh, key details are important parts of a story. So what are they, Aubrey?
Important parts of the story.
Absolutely. So whenever you're retelling it, you can remember key details. And then you also can use the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the end of the story. We can also ask ourselves some questions about the book so we can gather key details. And what would be one of the questions you can ask yourself, Kendall?
What? In the story.
Can you say that again?
Who is in the story?
Yeah, who is in the story? All right, what's another question, Kendall?
Where does the story take place?
Yeah, you could ask yourself, like, where is the location in the story? So now I'm going to read today's story. Are you ready for it? It is my favorite story, and it's called Walter the Farting Dog. You see this dog? What in the world? What do you think Walter is doing? What does it look like Walter is doing? Most likely farting, huh? That's crazy. Let's begin our book. Betty and Billy brought Walter home from the dog pound. Nobody wanted him, said Billy. But we love him, said he. Well, he smells awful, said their mother. I think you'd better give him a bath. Mother walked in and said, he still smells awful. And that's when they got the first clue. The telltale bubbles in the water. He's probably just a little nervous, said Mother. Hopefully, his stomach must be upset. But Walter's stomach wasn't upset. Walter's stomach was fine. He felt perfectly normal. He just farted a lot. All right, he did it when he bathed. He did it when he played with Betty and Billy. He did it when he walked around the house. He did it in the dining room. He did it in the kitchen. And he did it in his sleep. That dog farts morning, noon, and night, said Father. He can't help it, Daddy, said Betty and Billy. They didn't mind Walter's farts. So what if he farts, Billy said to Betty when they were alone in their room with Walter. Betty agreed. Walter agreed too. He sat there looking innocently around and farting. Take him to the vet, said the father. Now, I want you to be thinking of some of the key details that are in the story so far. We know some of our characters, right? What are some of our characters' names so far? Billy and Betty. Very good. Mom and Dad, too, huh? And who's the dog? He's probably one of the main characters because his name keeps getting repeated, right? The dog, Walter. Okay, so you're thinking of key details because you're going to have to retell the story. Let's see what happens next. Farting, said the vet. Everyone say, farting. Good job. Farting, said the vet, as we say in the medical profession, and prescribed a change of diet. So the vet took a look at him and he's like, ooh, this dog's got a farting problem. We need to change his diet. And that means they want him to be eating differently. So let's find out what happens next. Oh my, look at this. Oh, wow. Yeah. All right. They gave Walter every kind of dog food. He farted. They tried him on cat food. They gave him hot dogs and hamburgers and lettuce and tomato sandwiches. They gave him fried chicken. And they gave him rabbit food. And they made him a vegetarian. No matter what that dog eats, he turns it into farts, roared the father. Oh my. Wonder what's going to happen right here. Look at this. Not sure who this guy is yet, but there's a guy standing there. There's Walter, and I can see the farting. Let's see what happens. Walter got the blame for everybody else's farts. If Uncle Irv let one slip, he just went and stood near Walter. Then all he had to say was, Walter! And everybody would look at poor Walter. So the uncle would come in, he would let a big old fart out, and then he would just get closer to Walter and blame it on Walter. Poor Walter. Stinky uncle. He has to go back to the pound, said Father. No, Daddy, please, begged Betty and Billy. Don't send Walter away. He goes tomorrow, said Father. They pleaded, and Walter farted. It was all over. That night, Betty and Billy cried in their beds. Everyone cried. They cried in their beds, and Walter looked at them unhappily. Oh, Walter, said Betty, you've got to stop farting. Because Father is going to send you back to the pound tomorrow, said Billy. Poor Walter laying there. Walter knew how serious the situation was. He'd never seen Betty and Billy again. He resolved to hold in his farts forever. So he decided, I'm not farting anymore. I'm going to hold it in forever. So when Betty and Billy fell asleep, he walked down to the kitchen to see if there was anything around to eat. And he managed to open the cupboard door with his nose and found the 25-pound bag of low fart dog biscuits the vet had prescribed him to eat, which made him fart even more. Even though he knew they made him fart more, he couldn't resist them. He ate the entire bag. Very tasty, said Walter to himself. Look at Walter. He's just eating those fart-free biscuits, and he's letting out stinky farts. And then he went and lay down on the sofa. A gigantic gas bubble began to build inside him. So a big gas bubble is in your belly, and your belly feels like it's full of air. But that's his fart, and it's not coming out because he's holding it in. This is going to be trouble, he said to himself nervously. He was afraid of what might happen if he let it go. He thought maybe the house would explode. So he kept it in. It wasn't easy. In fact, it was torture. But he had resolved never to fart again. His future depended on it. As he lay there, with his tail wrapped tightly between his legs, he heard a noise at the window. What do you think Walter found at the window? What do you think was going on? He's just laying there, and he sees something at the window. Let's find out. He watched it slowly open. A pair of burglars came through. They dropped silently into the kitchen. "Watch out for the dog," said one of the burglars. "He won't bite," said the other. "He's a wimp." Walter might have bitten them, except he was so filled with gas that he couldn't even move. They tied a rag around his snout so he couldn't bark. "Okay," whispered the first burglar. "Let's clear the place out." They took everything they could get their hands on, and Walter wanted to stop them, but he was having unbearable gas pains. He rolled on his back and he waved his paws in the air. He gnashed at his teeth. "We've got it all," said the second burglar. "Let's go." So remember, poor Walter couldn't save his family from getting robbed because he was trying to hold his fart in. Oh no, look at this. That's when Walter let it fly. It was the worst fart of his life. It made a tremendous noise and shot him across the room. A hideous cloud filled the air, and the burglars clutched their throats, unable to breathe. Everyone, imagine what Walter's fart sounded like. Go. Yeah, it could have sounded like that, and it probably stunk really bad. With tears in their eyes, they raced for the window. They tried to grab their bag with all the valuables in it, but their arms were too weak. "Let's get out of here!" They jumped out of the window and ran up the block, choking and gasping for air. Still blinded by Walter's attack, they stepped into the headlights of an unapproached police car. "Hold it right there," said the policeman. Look at that. Sorry. They're running, trying to get away from Walter and his fart. The police catch them. When father and mother came down in the morning, they found the open window and they saw the bag with their valuables in it. And Walter was sitting beside it. He still had the rag tied around his snot. Around his snout. Sorry, guys. You'd have to say he looked heroic. "He saved the silverware," cried mother. "He saved the VCR," cried father. "Good dog, Walter. You're our dog, even if you do fart all the time." So now they really loved him. And so the family learned to live with Walter, the hero dog. And that's the end of our tale. Okay, so now I want you to be thinking, in this crazy book of Walter farting, what could you add to retell this story to somebody else? So if you have to go tell your mom, dad, uncle, grandma, anybody, just see if you can remember key details. Who's our characters? Where's the setting at? And say what happened in the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the end of the story. And they'll really be able to understand the story really well. I'd enjoyed my time with you guys, and I miss you so much. And I will see you another day.